Hello guys, in a new Adobe Photoshop tutorial. So in this lesson, we will learn and step by step how to create this wonderful fire effect using Adobe Photoshop. Before we begin, if you don't have the Adobe Photoshop installed in your machine, I placed a link in the description where you can download the pre-activated version of Adobe Photoshop from my safe link. And for the brushes, the images, all the resources I used in this lesson, you will find a second link in the description where you can download all the resources, images, the brushes, the fonts, everything I used in this tutorial with a direct link, using of course the link in description. So this is the image we will work on. We create a new layer. We will choose this color, this gold color. Remember this, the hexadecimal code of this color. For the brush, we will use this fire brush. We will find this fire brush in the resources, these two fire brush, these two folders. Like you can see, this is the first one and this is the second one. You can install them very easily and begin the lesson with me. So we go to brushes, which you are already installed, and then we select this first one and we begin painting with this brush, of course using the color I already showed you before, the gold color of course, and we begin brushing, trying to create the fire effect. Of course, this is just the first step. We are going to explain everything step by step, of course. A little brushing here. Pay attention to the settings of the brush at the top. That's the top panel, like you can see here. In this top panel you will find the opacity, the flow, the smoothing, all the settings I used, and of course the kind, or I mean the brush I used for this first step of creating the fire effect, like you can notice here. So a little zoom in, so I create a layer mask and I will try to remove some parts I don't want to include in this first step layer. So I will using the layer mask to remove this little parts here, which was created by error, of course. Like you know, using the brush to create effects, we have always to use the layer mask to remove any parts we don't want to include. So we use Ctrl G to create a copy of the layer, and we go to the blending mode and we choose the vivid lights. Another time a Ctrl G to create a third copy, and for now we will use the color judge mode. We select the layer using Ctrl and we create a layer mask, and we choose the color picker. We choose, select all the layers together and we convert them to a smart object, and we go to the color range selection and we invert the selection. We keep just these parts here and we create a layer mask. For now we use Ctrl to select these parts here. We come back to the first layer and we use Ctrl C, Ctrl V to create a new layer with the selection. We place it at the top, and for the blending mode we choose, I think we will choose the liner judge mode, like you can see here. We come back, we go to curves, we will apply a curves effect to the selection here, like you can see. Just be attentive and try to make all the steps I do, the same steps. So we create a new layer now, and we go to the fire brushes, and we will choose, I think this one will be okay. So we choose this one. We come back to the color we used earlier, the gold color, and we continue creating the fire effect. This time we will create the fire effect out the ball. So we will try to change a little the brushes to make things looks more normal and more familiar and more real. Of course, we try to change the brushes, change of course the orientation of the brush to make things look more real. We continue here, like you can see. We come back to the brushes. We try always to change the brush to make the fire effects looks more realistic, because if we work with just one brush or two brushes with the same orientation, we will make the effects looks fake, and anyone can tell that this fire effect is fake. But if we change the brushes, the orientation of the brush, the size of the brushes also, things looks more realistic and near to the reality. So we continue all the edges of the ball. So we continue adding the fire effects as the edges of the ball, out the ball of course, and with the same manner we did earlier with the fire in the center of the ball, we will repeat the same manner and the same steps to make the fires out the ball looks real and give them the fire color like I said. So we will use the same steps. So Ctrl G to create a new copy of the layer. We go to the blending mode, we change it to vivid light, and another copy using another time Ctrl G, and this time we go to the blending mode, we choose the color judge mode, and now using Ctrl we create a clip mask. We create a layer mask. We come back to the first layer, we choose the solid color effects. We select all the layers together, we convert them to a smart object, and we go to the color range selection. We select this area, we create a layer mask, we come back to the blending mode, and we choose the liner judge or the screen. This time I will choose the screen mode, like you can notice here. So like we did earlier, we will try to remove a little, make things looks more sharp here. We try to remove this part and also a little from this pad here to make the effects and the fire effect looks more real and more professional, of course, the design. And we come back to the curves effects, and like we did earlier, we edit a little the curve. Like you can see, this is the curve effects which give us more realism to our design. We try to play a little with the curves effects. So we select the two layers, we create Ctrl G from the keyboard to create a copy of the two layers, the layer with the curve, like you can see here. So we select all the layers together now, and we enter them into a group. We call it fire. We come back to the background image, the first image. We create a new layer, and we will try to create a little smoke here using, of course, the black color, and using the smoke, and we will try to create a little smoke. Like you can notice here, we minimize the opacity to 37. If you can see the top panel and the panel of the settings of the brush, you will notice that we used 37 for the opacity because we are trying to create just a smoke. For that, we minimize the opacity to don't have a very fancy black color. So we create a new empty layer now. We come back to the brushes. We try to change the smoke brush to another one. So maybe this one will be okay. We try to change the black color to a gray one. And the size, we minimize the size. Like we did earlier, we try to create a little smoke effect, like you can notice here, which gives our design more realism and make it looks more professional. Try to add a little smoke here and a little here. So adding the smoke is very important. So we will create a layer mask. We will try to remove a little the edges of the smoke to make things look more normal. We have to be very attentive creating the smoke and the fire, because if we don't pay attention to these little details, our design will look fake for everyone who will see it. Of course, we try to remove a little, so a little zoom out to see what we have for now. So like you can see, if we remove the smoke and we add it another time, we can see the difference, of course. We come back to the first layer of the original image. We create a new empty layer now. We come back to the brushes, and for now we will use the general brush, the soft general brush. We play a little with the opacity, and for the color we will choose always the gold color I mean, and we try now to paint a little the hand which is taking the ball, the fireball. So we try to a little paint the hand, a little also the leg of the player who is handling the fireball a little pencil here. Of course, I will edit this layer. So the first thing we will play with a little come back, I think should be, or of course, very attentive creating these parts of the design. So the first thing we are going to do is to minimize the opacity, the maximum. We try to minimize first the opacity, and we will create a layer mask. We will try to remove, of course, and make things look more normal and more real. I think here we have to remove this part, and we change the blending mode to the screen mode. We add a little opacity. I think this is too much, so I think 63 for the opacity will be okay, like you can see here. We come back to the fire group. So for now we will call that light. We select the smoke layers, the 2 layers, we create a group, we will call it smoke. So organizing things and layers into groups is very crucial and very important, which makes work easy for us. We convert the fire group to create a copy for the fire, and we convert it to a smart object. We play a little with the opacity. So here we create a copy of the layer, and for now we will try to play a little. So here we go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And now we will add a little Gaussian blur here. So try to follow the steps with me. So I will change the blending mode to overlay, like you can see here. So now our effects looks more grid, and we are making our design looks more real and professional. We will play a little with opacity to don't make things look exaggerate. I think now it's fine. So I go to effects, I will choose solid color. I will choose, I think, the outer glow, and for the outer glow we will change the color to this red one, and of course we change the blending mode to pen light, I think, and we will play a little with the opacity like this, and we change the size, of course, we make it 1. I think these are all the settings I will play with. A little range, add in the range. The spread, I think 0 will be okay. I think everything is okay now. We click OK, and we can go to the outer glow effects and play a little with the opacity. I think we have to minimize a little the opacity. Of course, make it just a little to don't make the fire looks red. So this is the results we are getting until now. So we come back to the brush tool, we create a new layer, a new empty layer at the top of all the layers we create earlier. And we go now to, we try to find the brush we will work on. So I think this one will be okay. So now we will choose the white color. And for the opacity, I will come back to the 100% in opacity. And we will try to create this little effect here, a little here as the bottom of the image. We come back here and we change the orientation to make things looks more real. Like I said earlier, changing the brushes, changing the orientation makes designing looks more professional and more great, because if you work with the same brush all time and in the same orientation, the whole design will looks very fake. So I continue brushing and painting. So I think just a little here will be okay. We try to not, I think I add a lot painting here, so I will remove the parts I don't want to include after. So I select the layer, I go to inner glow, and for the inner glow we will choose the gold color we worked earlier with. So I will add the opacity to 100%. And for the blending mode, I will choose the normal blending mode. And be attentive, these are the settings of the inner glow I apply on this last layer, like you can see here. So I go now to the outer glow. I will use the red color, or this orange color will look more green, and I will change the blending mode to normal one. And like you can notice here, we add the opacity we edit the opacity to the middle, will be okay. We don't have to add a lot orange outer glow to don't make it a winner color out of the gold one, the essential gold one color to work with in the whole design. So like you can see, I think we have to remove a little parts from this layer, a little unwanted parts from this layer. So we go first to the vibrance. We add a little vibrance to this top layer, just to this top layer. So we will add a little vibrance. You can see here. Come back to the layer, we create a layer mask. Like I already said, we have to remove a little parts from the last layer we create, so we try to remove these parts as the top, because it will be abnormal to create these parts here. We will let just the parts as the bottom of the image, which give us the effects like that the ball is fireball. I will come back and make this part here back to the design. I think now everything is okay. Just here and a little here. So now I think everything is okay. So all we have to do for now is we add this last effect, gradient map effect, to the whole image, and playing with the blending modes, and playing also with the opacity. Like you can see, we will minimize opacity to make the design looks more great. It's just a game of adding effects. So first we add the vibrance. The second effect we work with is the gradient map. We will add a little opacity here. So we try to make the effects on and off and see if we will accept it and make the effect on, or delete the effect if we want that, if it doesn't work with the design. So now we add a little color balance, like you can see. Of course, it depends on your choice, on your artwork. So it's a game of feelings, like you can see, design feelings. So we will try to play a little with the color balance, and at the end we try to make it off and on and see if we will let it or we will remove it. So guys, I wish this tutorial was useful for you and you have learned some very essential and very interesting graphic design and Photoshop designing techniques. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you have any issues or in installing the program or the software, if you are new in graphic designing, or you have some problems in applying the lesson, you can contact me in the comments and I will reply very soon and try helping you, of course, in your career. So like I already said, I wish the tutorial was useful for you. Don't forget to subscribe to get the tutorials coming up, and see you in the next lesson, God willing.